I was muted this whole time. So if you are joining me live, hashtag live. And what I was saying is that a lot of times organizational leaders feel like they should be doing everything and not realizing that keeps them in survival mode and does not put them in the level they need to be in. So if you are catching this live, like I said, hashtag live. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay. I'd love to know where you're joining from. Definitely let me know in the comments. And we're gonna get going because quite a few things happening today, and I want to make sure to talk about this because I wasn't able to yesterday. So if we have not met yet, I'm Stacy Volsi. I am whew, the the optimized operation consultant, and I am the person behind Savage Coaching and Consulting, SAVJ. So if you see that name, I pronounce it Savage. So Savage Coaching and Consulting. I help grow stage nonprofits and social enterprises strengthen their infrastructure so they can stop scrambling and start growing and scaling with clarity, because that's the gap that exists in organizations where they are missing that level of clarity that's needed for them to actually do the work that they need to do. So, how I do that through strategic planning, operational planning, system audits, and implementation support. So, as a consultant or your fractional COO, those are two different ways that I can assist. Now, I also run a free community called the Growth Minded Nonprofit Circle. So, it should not only be for nonprofits. If you are a social enterprise, definitely join. And I will put, if you click on the banner on my Facebook profile, the link is there. You can join it or just type in Growth Minded Nonprofit Circle. It's for organizations that are making less than $10 million and they're ready to grow without having to deal with the burnout and all of the things that are associated with running a small organization or company. So if you can also comment group and I'll send you the link. Okay. Now, the title of this live was not self-explanatory for many, but essentially, you can't, if you're doing everything, you're not doing anything, right? Because that is, that does not allow your organization to accomplish its mission in every sense of the word, because what happens when you do that is you're operating in survival mode. You're operating it by, I don't even think it's by default at that point, because when people start doing that, it's a lack of leadership or understanding of what's needed to move forward. And I know sometimes it's necessary to just pull up your boots and just get to work. But when you focus on doing everything yourself, you're you're doing a disservice to your organization and your company, because how much of your week do you actually spend reacting to problems versus actually leading your mission? Because you are trying to do everything. Like, you're trying to do payroll, you're trying to hire people, you're trying to fundraise, you're trying to do everything that's not supposed to be your job. And that's a huge issue. And it's causing you to have delays in your growth potential for your organization or company. So that's what I want you to keep on top of mind as we go through this topic today. And again, if you're catching this live, hashtag live, let me know where you're from. Like, that's all I ask when I come here and do these lives. I don't ask anything of you, just let me know you're here. Um, because, yeah, you're answering every email yourself, every potential stakeholder, donor, partner that comes through. You're the only person that can answer their questions. And that is a bottleneck for you and your organization. Okay. And when that happens, you end up submitting reports late and it's costing you more than you already have. So you're stretched thin, your organization is stretched thin, you're tired, you're stuck, and all this jazz. And that's not where you need to be. That's not where your organization needs to be. Okay, so we're going to talk about what's really happening, what to pay attention to, and things that you can do for this to ensure that you're able to actually move forward in the right direction. It's not that your mission is essentially broken, right? It's that your operations are not where they need to be. They're either weak or they're not, or you just didn't set them up yet. Let me make sure. All right. So yeah, it's either your operations are weak or non-existent, right? Like the programs end up being reactive as a result where everybody, like you and your staff included, because you have staff, you're a growth stage nonprofit, everybody's burnt out. Okay. And what happens is that strategy takes a back seat to putting out the fires because you're so focused on making sure things don't fall apart. You're not really thinking with a strategic lens to see, okay, this is the direction we need to go if we're trying to do this. Because it's really important to have a level of strategy, especially in the nonprofit sector or social enterprise, because things are very dynamic in that industry. And you can see it this year specifically with the change in administration, is that a lot of things are changing, and it's important for you to be able to grow and adapt with these changes, but you need a strategic approach and a plan to make sure it's happening in the way it's supposed to. So, one piece of data that I read about, it said that 73% of nonprofit leaders, they will say that burnout from reactive operations is their number one barrier to growth. And that was BDO's 2024 Nonprofit Pulse report, right? And I strongly believe that. Imagine how many of them, how many people, including you, have a level of burnout existing in your organization or company because you're reacting to something, right? It's like, oh my God, they said they need this. Let me hurry up and find this for them and send it to them. So it's like you're so busy scrambling, trying to find this one issue that it's taking your thinking power away from what you need to focus on, right? It really is the number one barrier to growth because you cannot build long-term impact on short-term capacity. And that's one thing I want you to understand. Because then, if you're trying to have a long term impact, then you can't just focus on what's there on the short term. Because a lot of organizations, they only focus on what's in front of them and they don't think long term, which can be very, very it can impede on the growth of the organization. So a few things that can look like is that you have no set workflow for program delivery where you don't actually plan that out. You don't actually have it on paper. You don't even like have a standard of what program delivery is supposed to look like. Hey, just make sure this person has this, and that. No, there needs to be a standard in place to ensure that the program is being delivered in a consistent manner, right? There's no system for tracking tasks or key performance indicators. I'm telling you, you need to start tracking your key performance indicators or KPIs to ensure that there is a level of success that you can track because your key performance indicators will tell you if what you're doing is working, if your tasks are producing the results that you're looking for. And also the other thing that you need to consider, if there's no shared process for how decisions are made, then it's really impeding your growth as a leader and the growth of your organization. Because what that does, it makes it difficult for you to delegate or even consider how like the decision making process where everything has to go through you. Okay, you have to understand how it slows the whole process down. If you are like Mary, John, and Paul, and everybody has to like ask you a question, then it's going to put a blocker in whatever's happening in the organization because you are everything to everyone. So everything feels urgent, everything feels important, and nothing is sustainable because you ended up putting yourself in the middle of everything, and it makes the whole process, the whole system, the whole operations difficult to manage. So what ends up getting missed in this process are grant deadlines, right? Partner reports, team check-ins, strategic planning, all these things get put on the back burner because you feel like there's a level of urgency to everything that you need to do. And it's hurting your credibility because you have a team, you're trying to grow these leaders, you're trying to build a team that is supposed to serve and help grow the organization, but you're not allowing them to because you are making yourself the bottleneck. Now, I want to also bring up of how that looks to the outside, right? Because it's not only you that will notice, right? It will be different stakeholders, such as your board members, your staff, even funders are going to notice because funders are going to notice when the same goals go unmet year after year. Board members are going to notice when your meetings become status updates instead of strategic conversation, because now you're just telling them what's happening instead of having actual conversations with them to ensure that things are going in the right direction. And your staff, now they're just going to kiki and laugh whenever you crack a joke because they understand that what they say is not important. You only want to talk about what you think is important because you're doing everything, right? And they see that you are exhausted and they can see that. They will notice that. So you have to stop normalizing the hustle that's happening in the leadership and start prioritizing the structure because the structure is what's going to help you get out of that mode where you're just trying to survive and do everything yourself and really establish a culture of accountability, a structure of growth, and a structure infrastructure for your organization and company altogether. Because hustle culture, I'm sorry, like some people love the term hustle. That's a term I could not find myself identifying with for years, for half a decade, really. Hustle culture will have you thinking that you just need to push through the quarter or push through this year because this year is tough. Like hustle culture is not something that you need to attach yourself to just because you are a nonprofit organization or you are a social enterprise because you do not need more hustle. You need systems to ensure that you get yourself out of hustle culture and figure out how to actually grow the organization or sustain the progress and growth that you have. If your organization is already making 1 million, then you need to figure out how you're going to make 2 next year, or you need to figure out how you're going to make 3, figure out how you're going to make 4, because that mindset of just hustling to just keep the same that you have right now is going to potentially drag you backwards. Okay. So systems, that's what actually can create space for your mission to breathe. Like it really can create space for your mission to breathe. And I want you to really look at that wholeheartedly and with an objective lens and see that you need to you need to figure out how you're going to make this happen for your organization because system will protect your people. System will protect your time. System will protect your company and your organization's growth. Okay. So I want you to just slow down for a minute and think about what you can audit right now. Okay. We're going to do a simple 3-question audit together. I want you to pull up your calendar from the last 2 weeks. Like pull it up, just your calendar from the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask. So once you have that, you can pause this and go look for it. The 3 questions I want you to ask is how much time this week was spent reacting versus leading. So what I want you to do is look at the different activities that you have. Which one was just a reaction for you instead of a leadership opportunity for you, right? The second question I want you to ask, what fires kept showing up over and over again? Was it an emergency with John? Was it an emergency with Jane? What was it that kept showing up? Was it a funding issue? Was it a reporting issue? Figure out what kept showing up over and over again. And the third question I want you to ask as you are auditing your organization or company is where do we keep starting from scratch? That's a question that you need to ask for your company or organization to ensure that you reveal the gaps that exist within your operations. You need to reveal your system's problem because if you don't do that, then every time this particular process comes in play, you're going to have to keep starting over from scratch. And when I say starting over from scratch, think about this example. Every time you hire someone, you have to think about, okay, what does this person need to know? Who do they need to follow? Do we have a training in place for this person? Every time you hire someone, you keep starting from scratch because there was no system in place, there was no process documented, no workflow in place to ensure that onboarding goes well. Okay, that's an example of a systems gap or operations gap that exists within your company or organization. And these are the things I want you to start looking at when you do this 3-question audit, because those things are either going to make or break your company eventually. So you need to get ahead of it and start preparing. I always say you need to be ready to receive, because if you're trying to grow, you need to, your operations needs to meet you at the level you're trying to go, because you don't need the most expensive software to have great operations or great anything. You just need the right one for your goals and your team. Now, for example, some people just want to get the fanciest softwares out there because either they're free or because somebody in the industry tells them it works for them. Just because it works for them doesn't mean it works for your team. I've spoken to some leaders that say they have little green light or different donor tracking software, or even purchase, oh my God, I forgot the one for the grants, because people said it was the best out there, but they don't use it. They don't know how to use it. Is this something you need to pay for? No. Okay, find a tracking software, something that works for you. There's Airtable that's very affordable. It's great for grant tracking. If you want a dynamic grant calendar that will send you reminders and have automations in place, if you need program reporting or even managing stakeholder communications, you can use something like Airtable, right? Or Monday.com for nonprofits, that's free. Like 501(c)(3)s, if you meet their criteria, you apply for it, you can get Monday.com for free. It's perfect for assigning tasks, like making sure that you track projects, especially if you have a program coordinator or program manager, like they can actually do some project management tasks on there. And you can build out workflows and manage your calendar with deadlines, and you can have automation set up to send reminders to people. Now, both of these tools are powerful and they do not break the bank. So you have to think about what tools or software out there are that you can implement with your organization or company that aligns with your vision and capacity, because it's not always about the most expensive tool out there for you to do your job. You need to figure out what tools can actually help you do your job better and save you time, where you don't have to keep repeating things from scratch every time. So, for people who are not familiar with a few terms, right? I want to make sure I define them, because clarity matters at every step of the way, especially when talking about operational planning or strategic planning. Now, for those not familiar with the term, some people, I asked someone what was does she have a strategic plan? In her answer, like, already made me understand she did not know what that was. A strategic plan will be a 12 to 36 month roadmap for mission and growth. Like, it's basically telling you where you're going in the next 12 to 36 months. And the operational plan, which is, I do both when I have a strategic plan and operational plan engagement with my clients. It's basically how you align that plan with day-to-day decisions and team actions. So strategic plans tells you where you want to go and where you want to go and stuff, right? But an operational plan is going to align the strategic plan with your daily decisions and team actions. So that's why a lot of folks get strategic plans. A lot of companies, organizations get strategic plans, and they get unalived inside a Google Drive because it looks pretty. It's fun to do, right? The team gets together. It's a lot of team building. Yay, this is what we're going to do. But then how are we going to do it? That's what an operational plan can help you with. Now, without both, your vision stays on paper and not in action. So that's why it's very important when doing strategic planning engagement. I include operational planning in it as well, because you need to understand how you're able to deliver these things you're saying you want to do, because you can have big dreams, but then they ain't going nowhere but your Google Drive folder. So this is what will impact in a lot of my consulting work, like the strategic planning engagement, right? But there are other ways to work with me as well, like the precision strategy session. That's a strategic strategy session where we work for 90 minute call and talk about action items or action steps that you can take right now to get closer to your goal. Or we can go deeper, like if you need to put systems and operations in place, the VIP operations intensive. These are ways to work with me, but explaining those so you can understand in a deeper level of how I help my clients is very important to me because I want you to understand as a growth stage nonprofit or company of what's necessary and how I can support you, how Savage Coaching and Consulting can support you. So a growth stage nonprofit will be or a company will be an organization that's generating more than $50,000 in revenue, but under $10 million in revenue. They already have staff. They have people working with the organization and helping with program delivery. They have mid-level management, a lot of them, the ones that are a little bit more advanced, right? But they still feel the pressure of having unclear roles and missing workflows in their company or organization or inconsistent systems, right? But they are ready to stop throwing time and money away at the wrong things. So if that sounds like you and you're interested in getting on my calendar or getting an audit, I suggest you book a precision strategy session. The link is going to be in the comments if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching anywhere else, go to my Stan store. The link's going to be on there or send me a DM. Um, Again, you weren't called to do this work just to survive it. So don't think that just bootstrapping it is growth. It's not, right? So I want you to give your company and organization room to grow. So definitely let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'm gonna head off a little bit early and then we'll talk soon. Let me know if you have any questions, but thank you y'all for coming. Bye.